Page 88. I've heard of a land of joy and peace and wonderful life, a beautiful place of nations fair and God's ever bright, where all who believe the Savior King forever shall stay, and having been saved by grace divine. praises all day long. I'm going that way. Amen. Anyone else with a song on your heart? You did 114. Ever since Jesus saved and pardoned, I've been singing every day. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. Through the dark shadows, He is with me, lead me on the outward way. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. Every moment I find Him. All the way. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. I've always been singing. Every day. Since the Savior came. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. All the day long I sing the story, praising Him for His wondrous love. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. Surely I know I'm home is waiting, beautiful home in heaven above. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. Every moment I find Him. All the way. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. I've always been singing. Every day. Since the Savior came. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. Brightly the star of hope is shining, making my pathway brighter from. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. Never a thought of sad reminding, Jesus is with me. Yes, I know. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. Every moment I find Him. All the way. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. I've always been singing. Every day. Since the Savior came. I've never been sorry. Praise the Lord. That trust in His blessed holy name. Amen. Anyone else have a song on your heart?
How about 265? Love it. I read the title of that song. It took me all the way back into the beginning. Some of the things that we were going through in our life. It was all bad news. Just 4 months in Children's Hospital, just watching our daughter decline all the way to death. We had to bury her. But even after that, our marriage was in shambles. And I got to thinking, there's nothing I can do about it. All my belongings were in a storage unit, and I just gave up on my marriage, gave up on my family. But yet, some man just come by and talk to me about Jesus, and that's what lifted me up.
Amen.
It was Jesus himself. Jesus sent his children out and helped me and guided me to the church. For a little while, I thought those people were just plumb crazy, and they were crazy. They were worshiping something I didn't know nothing about, but yet, I just kept coming back. And it was because of that love. That love that lifted me, and it kept bringing me back until God saved me. And I thank Him for everything He's done in my life. And, He continues to lift me every day. This world's in a mess, but thankfully I have peace in my heart because of Christ Jesus.
Bless you.
good to be back in the Lord's house this evening. Another practice of Wednesday night is prayer service. Midweek prayer. I never pray at home, but it's good to come in and bear our burdens with our brothers and sisters. They will help us and help us carry those burdens and ease them. But I think a lot of times we kind of take advantage of that. When calls come out, or when we ask one of our brothers and sisters ask to pray, sometimes it just slips our mind. We don't do it. We don't go to the Lord's help, and we got to get some actions in our prayers tonight. And a good example of that is when it's Peter here. Peter, very familiar scripture said, then Peter said, "Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have I give thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk." Now he just stopped there, but what he did next, he took his right hand and he lifted him up. So there's nothing, we need to take our right hand, we need to start lifting our brothers and sisters in Christ up, and put some legs on our prayers and help each other. We got a lot to pray about tonight. I know Sister Claire mentioned about her brother today, so we need to pray for her. Pray for our elders, and I've not been, I wasn't here Sunday. I'm good to see Brother Clarence back, Sister Georgia, and it's good to see our elders come out and learn from them and support them. We love them. So just want to ask if anybody's got a prayer request on their heart tonight, let it be known.
Brother Rob, we heard from Brother Wood today, and Sister Martha had surgery this week. She had a aortic valve that was replaced in the heart, and she came through the surgery fine, no issues. But he said today she's having a really bad day. She's not able to keep anything down. She just doesn't have a lot of strength, and he desires the church's prayers on Sister Martha's behalf. So pray for her. As always, remember our loss. The loss when we come to church, the loss that we all know, friends and family and neighbors, people we work with, and just pray that God will continue to move like He has been. We're excited about what He's doing, and we'll stay excited about it.
I'm a former pastor tonight. Does anybody have anything on the heart? Go to the Lord in prayer.
Brother Rob, I actually remember one of Abby's friends, we got a message right before we came into the church tonight that her dad had passed away and they were going to the funeral. So just remember that family in time of need.
What's happening on the heart tonight? Go to the Lord in prayer.
I'd like you to remember my mom. A while back, she took some medicine that wasn't hers. She took her grandson's pain pills because she was having spasms and stuff in her leg. And she ended up going to pick up her grandson from work, and she passed out and hit another car. She didn't hurt anyone else, but so she had a trial, and they told her that she'd probably spend 3 days in jail or have to go to 3 days counseling. So they had to put it off because she was wearing a heart monitor. She's been really depressed since then, and she goes tomorrow. Find out what's going to happen. And I hope she doesn't have to go to jail, because I think in her depressed state it's really going to be hard on her. So if you could just lift her up in prayers that the Lord would help her in that situation.
Urgent prayer request there. God answers them also. Yeah. What's happening on the heart tonight?
Rob, I know you already mentioned Claire's brother, but I talked to her today, and there's a lot of turmoil in the family, and just pray for them that they'd be peace. And I would hate to lose family like that, and there'd be hard feelings and stuff. And just remember them. And Harvey's just right there, just a couple doors away from him. And I know God's got a plan, got a reason why He's there. And just pray maybe some way, somehow He could, maybe get to speak to him or something. But just remember them. They've been on my heart really quite heavy today.
Remember us tonight. Like for you to also remember the ones we went camping with, which was my sister-in-law, brother-in-law. They've been watching our services, and God opened the door, I think, Saturday night. He was up till 1 in the morning just talking about, he went to church, professed to be saved, and, got hurt and had to come back. But, it seems like it's really in his heart to get back into church. And whoever it might be, whatever the situation is, that God will intervene. It's like, I love them, family. They got children. We want all of our family in church, I'm sure. Grateful tonight. Anybody else have anything on the heart? Not go on prayer.
the guy who Dare, he's the only one coming in working with me. His father had a heart attack, and he asked me to help her pray. As far as I know, he's lost man, and Dare is too.
Remember, it's not Brother Robert. You must have you on heart.
Remember Evan, he's supposed to find out next week if he gets laid off or not, and I know that's a lot on him with us having a baby soon, and our air conditioning out, and everything else that just piles, but I know that he'll take it hard if it happens, so just remember him and pray for that situation.
Just remember, it's not.
But Bob, I just want to say I'm thankful when you remind us to remember all of our loss, that we can take Katie off of us now. We can remember her as a sister and uplift her and pray that she grows. I'm just glad she's off that list.
Amen. No one else has anything on the heart, anybody have no one spoken, press up, no one by the right hand. Last Brother David, lead us in prayer tonight.
Dear Lord, come, Father God, we come before talking about you. Thank you for being blessed, God. Thank you today, because that's what God, Lord, make much of you, set up on Lord, we pray, Lord God, shortcomings, Lord God. Lord, that our prayers can be lifted up to you, Lord God. Lord, we pray, Lord God, that you're our lives, Lord God. Lord, we pray, Lord God, that we always be the center of thy will, Lord God. Your will be done, Lord God. Lord, just give us strength and wisdom, Lord God, to understand, Lord God, these things, Lord God, that are going on in our lives, Lord God. Lord, we know you know all things, Lord God. You know the great plan, Lord God. Lord, we just wait on your answer, Lord God. Lord, we know, Lord God, that you watch over your children, Lord God. Lord, we pray, Lord God, that you bless all that are in the church, Lord God. All their customers, Lord God. Those that are unsaved, Lord God. Lord, you know that you walk your children, Lord God. Lord, we just want to praise you, Lord God. Thank you, Lord God, for the time you give us with our families, Lord God. The strength and the love we have with our children, Lord God. Lord, we pray, Lord God. Being around, Lord God. All the time, Lord God. Lord, we just pray, Lord God. This is together, Lord God. Lord God. We be a father, Lord God. Husband, Lord God. Lord, we love all, Lord God. We want to be the son you want us to be, Lord God. People to see you through us, Lord God. Lord, we pray, Lord God. Bless us, Lord God. Bless others, Lord God. Lord, be a light. Let people see, Lord God. You are, Lord God. Lord, we pray, Lord God. You bless our pastors' family, Lord God. Give us also their leaders, Lord God. Lord, we pray, Lord God. You know their needs and their wants, Lord God. Lord, we pray, Lord God. You touch the all see them, Lord God. Lord, we pray, Lord God. You bless our church, Lord God. See all souls coming in and getting saved, Lord God. Lord, we pray, Lord God, that our Liz, Lord God, love them, Lord God. We see them coming in and getting saved, Lord God. Lord, we know you can do all things, Lord God. Lord, we come to you, nothing else to you, Lord God. Lord, we pray, Lord God. God, what you need, Lord God, you know, Lord God. We pray your will be done, Lord God. Give us wisdom, Lord God, to understand the things that we have in store, Lord God. Lord, that we know, Lord God, that those things will be opened up. And we just pray, Lord God, that you just bless us all when we see fit. Bless us, we can see the walk in your Lord God. Lord, we ask you, Lord, for this country, Lord God, watch over our leaders, give them wisdom, Lord God. And we pray, Lord God, all this in your holy name.
Turn over to our song here. Everybody got a song on the heart.
There's a song on your heart tonight.
Bless.
I met a very, very dear, sweet friend of mine this evening, and she's had a lot of losses and a lot of trials last year, and I know I'm not a perfect person by any means, and I can list you off my faults quicker than anybody that I've lived with even. And if you talk to people that live with me, they can tell you that I've got faults. But she looked at me and she said, you know, this whole COVID thing that's been extremely lonely. And then big tears welled up her eyes, and she said, but you've reminded me several times that I'm not alone. But I've always got somebody with me. And she said she was thankful for that. And I do have that little bubble We all do as God's child. We have that bubble where everything can fall apart around you and you still got peace. Because over and over, again and again, my God is faithful.
That's right.
He brings me through. So when that devil tries to tell me, you can't climb, that is Mount Everest. There's no way you can get over this. There's no way you can get past this. It's too wide, it's too high. You can't go. But over and over,
That's right.
God is taking me through it.
Amen.
Thank you for that tonight. Thank you for always being there.
Bless.
Thank you, Jesus.
Stood on the bank of a wide raging river, trusting that I'd get across.
Bless you.
I've made my way through some valleys and deserts, believing I never.
Over and over again.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
Her sweet voice, G.
Bless you.
I'm glad that I finally heard the voice of the Lord. He come to me in a way that I had a lot of people talk to me about Christ, but none of that came through the way that Jesus came through that he talked to me. And I knew it was really him. That's something you can't deny.
Yes,
And
bless you,
you
Lord.
got rejected or accepted. And I'm glad that I accepted. And I'm glad I heard that. I heard a sweet voice so tenderly calling, saying, "Arise, be saved evermore." I knew it must be the voice of my Savior. For I had not heard a voice like it before. I remember one night at an old-fashioned meeting, I was praying to God to redeem my whole soul. Then I heard the sweet voice of my loving Savior, and I started that night to make heaven my home. I heard a sweet voice so tenderly calling, saying, "Arise, be saved evermore." I knew it must be the voice of my Savior. For I had not heard a voice like it before. Well, I'm glad that I heard the voice of my Savior.
That's right.
And I know I'm redeemed by His wonderful grace.
Yes, praise God.
Someday when He calls, I'll go to heaven.
Amen. Yes.
And then that sing, I'll look on His face. And I heard a sweet voice so tenderly calling, saying, "Arise, be saved evermore." I knew it must be the voice of my Savior. For I had not heard a voice like it before. For I had not heard a voice like it
Can you do troublesome waters?
Maybe if you don't mind before you sit down, can you call Raven Grace?
You know, when I was little and growing up, sometimes when your kids, you have lots of monsters in your life. I always thought the words in that song, the sea monsters under the, but you know, in this world, I'm seeing more and more monsters all the time that our children are facing, and we're facing. And I'm just so glad for that hand that's guiding us, that's underneath us and keeping
Troublesome waters, I'm fearing no more.
Praise God. Thank you.
Give it to you. Amazing grace. I'm thankful to be here tonight. I love getting away for a few days on vacation and stuff, but I really do miss church. I really do. I miss the Spirit of the Lord. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound
Saved a wretch like me.
that saved a wretch like me.
Lost but now found.
I once was lost, but now I'm found.
Was blind but now I see.
Was blind, but now I see.
'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear.
'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear,
And grace my fears relieved.
and grace my fears relieved.
How grace did that grace appear.
How precious did that grace appear.
The hour I first believed.
The hour I first believed.
Through many dangers, toils and snares.
Through many dangers, toils, and
I
snares,
have already come.
I have already come.
This grace that brought me safe thus far.
His grace that brought me safe thus far,
And grace will lead me home.
and grace will lead me home.
When we've been there 10,000 years.
When we've been there 10,000 years,
Bright shining as the sun.
bright shining as the sun.
No less days to sing God's praise.
We've no less days to sing God's praise.
And when we first begun.
And when we first begun.
Anyone else have a song on your heart? Testimonies? I know y'all probably been to Cates Cove, the little churches down there in Cates Cove. They still got their podiums and choir benches and everything. I might be the deacon's benches, I don't know. But anyway, I can imagine them doing the song like that whenever we do that song. And believe me, standing up here and hearing it coming back, it's just, to me, it just sounds so beautiful. I can't hear good, and it sounds good to me. Anyone else have anything? That didn't sound right, did it? It sounded really good. It's amazing. After we did all those services with almost no one out there, and then you hear someone out there, and you hear those voices coming back.
Yes.
It's really good. Just rewarding.
That bass sounded good on the front too.
Bless him, Lord.
Jesus is my high tower. He's my light in the dark hour. Without him, I could not see. He is closer than a brother. Without him, there's no other. Without him, where would I be? Oh, Jesus, what a friend is he.
Bless him, Lord.
For he is the rock upon which I stand, and he's the present help in time of need. When this whole world's left me all alone, and I can feel him walking right by me. Everyone walks out, that's when he walks in, proving once again that he's my dearest friend. He promised he would go with me always, even till the end.
Bless him, Lord.
As long as this world stands, he promised
He hold my hand,
that I would never
walk alone. Instead, he would go with me always, through those trials, through dark days. He would be my friend, my guide. Oh, Jesus, he's the best friend in my life. He is the rock upon which I stand, and he's the present help in time of need. And when this whole world has left me all alone, and I can feel him walking right by me.
And yes, bless her, Lord.
And when everyone walks out, that's when he walks in,
just
proving once again that he's my dearest friend. And he promised he would go with me always, even till the end.
Thank you, Jesus. Bless her, Lord.
Anyone else have anything on your heart?
I wasn't going to say anything, but I've got a song in my heart, but I have a scripture that goes right along with what I've been studying for a month or two now. My whole life, just to give a little background, my whole life, I've had behavioral issues. Mom and Dad would always say, you can't act like that person. You can't act like that person. You're Jared. You're who God wants you to be. And this is 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 10. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace which was bestowed upon me was not in vain, but I labored more abundantly than they all. Yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me. I just couldn't get over that. Not me, but the grace of God which was in me.
Thank you, Lord. Bless him.
If we could sing nothing but grace. I tell you today of the goodness of the Lord. Nothing good in me that I should gain a reward. Just by the kindness and the favor He has shown. Not by my works or anything I've earned. It's nothing but grace. Pardons my sin. Because of His mercy, I've been born again. Redeemed by His blood, my sins are erased. What else can I say? It's nothing but grace. I am what I am by the grace He gives to me. His goodness and favor continue to increase. Called out of darkness into His wonderful light. I'm blessed beyond measure. I owe Him my life. It's nothing but grace that pardons my sins. Because of His mercy, I've been born again. Redeemed by His blood, my sins are erased. What else can I say? It's nothing but grace. It's nothing but grace that pardons my sins. Because of His mercy, I've been born again. Redeemed by His blood, my sins are erased. What else can I say? It's nothing but grace.
Amen. Thank you, Lord.
Anyone else have anything? Sir, look out.
And I really enjoyed all of those songs,
Amen.
all the songs and all the testimonies. It's uplifting for me, and I appreciate you for following the Lord. And I desire your prayers tonight. I want to give you what's on our heart. I want to encourage you, and I want to charge you tonight. I want to, hopefully if this comes out the way that the Lord is helping you study it, it'll be encouragement to you, but also be a good charge for the church to go forward. In a world that just seems so confused about everything, God makes pretty clear directions on what He wants us to do. And I know God will guide us in everything, so we just desire your prayers tonight. We're going to start in Genesis chapter 50, and we are going to go over into Exodus chapter 1. We're going to read a few verses of scripture tonight, but I got to get where I need to be for the message. So if you'll just pray for us, we'll give you what God gave us. So Genesis
Bless you.
chapter number 50. And we want to start reading at the 20th verse. We're going to read through this chapter, and then we'll jump into the next chapter here into Exodus chapter 1. Genesis chapter 50, verse number 20. The Bible says, "But as for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring it to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. Now therefore fear ye not, I will nourish you and your little ones." And he comforted them and spake kindly to them. And Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's house. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation. The children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were brought up upon Joseph's knees. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die. And God said, and God will surely visit you, and bring you out of this land unto the land which he sware to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from thence. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. Now go with us over into Exodus chapter 1. The 6th verse says, And Joseph died, and all his brethren in all the generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us, and so get them out of this land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters, to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But listen to this verse, 12th verse. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And that's where we'll stop reading. We appreciate you standing in reverence of God's Word tonight. And we like to preach, if the Lord would allow us, about will you carry the bones? Will you carry the bones? Now this was a very strong message that Joseph was leaving here as he was parting this life. We all know the story of Joseph. Joseph was a dreamer, the Bible calls him. He was a man that, as he was a boy growing up, God began to give him visions. Began to show him different things, Brother Eric, as he began to show him those things began to get in the way of his family. Those things began to get in the way of the people that surrounded him. Even though they were God's visions and visions for Joseph, God was preparing him every step of the way to get to where he was going to go. See, God just didn't hand over to him just as he was a child, how it was supposed to be. But there was preparation that God was making. But I want you to understand this. Even though there was preparation being made, Joseph's life was not a bed of roses. Joseph fought some battles that he had to go through. It wasn't physical battles that he had to deal with. It was a lot of mental battles that come upon his life. Yes, he was afflicted. There were things that happened to him. His own brethren sold him. I sold him out to folks and told his father a lie and said he was eaten by a wild beast. But they knew what they did. But see, what they didn't understand was this was working to the plan of God. Now that Joseph, his heart was broke. His very brethren sold him out, Clarence. But God had a plan. And if he was willing to trust God and follow the plan, God would move in his life.
Amen.
And he did.
Yes, he did. Bless him, Lord.
He didn't move just a little. He moved a whole lot.
Yeah.
Here he was as he gets down to a spot that he was sold into bondage. The very people that sold him into bondage, Eric, was the very people that began to entreat him nicely and began to do good things for him. Look at one spot, and the Bible said, as he went to Potiphar, Potiphar looked at him as a great man, put in charge over everything. But the devil wasn't going to have it that way, Ron. Wasn't going to let God's children go untouched. And we know the story. His wife lied on him, and Joseph was thrown in jail. Didn't happen, but nonetheless, that's the way it went. Now here's Joseph as a 17-year-old boy that gets sold to bondage. Then he thinks, I'm done. My family will never see him. And here he meets a man that takes him under his wings. Everything's starting to look good, Clarence. And then right away, whammy, there it is again. Church, have you been there? Do you know what that feels like? That everything's going good. Maybe out of a valley. And then right away, it happens again. Wham, you got it. And you say, oh God. But I'm thankful. Joseph taught us some lessons. Good lessons. Got down in there in the middle of prison.
still a young man, still in a spot. As he got down in that place, that no doubt it wasn't a place that he should have been in. He could have whimpered, he could have whined, he could have complained, but he took what he had, and God blessed him with that. It wasn't long since before long that God allowed him to be promoted in the prison to where he's taking care of everything else. And one day the baker and the butcher comes down. They were mad and they were angry. The king was upset, and there they went. They begin to have dreams. And as they begin to have these dreams, Joseph began to interpret those. Because God gave him that skill set. I want you to get this now. One, he told him, before this is out, you'll have 3 days, and the king's taking your head. But the other, he said, the time will come to pass, and you'll be back where you need to be. But Joseph said, when you get there, don't you forget me. Boy, ain't that just like the world? They want something from the church. They want something from you. But then when they use you up, then when they got what they need, you say, don't you forget where it came from. It didn't come from me. It came from God. And they walk out and forget God.
Yes. Bless the Lord.
Goes right back to his place, and it took 3 years. 3 years before the king started having dreams. He tried every magician. He tried every soothsayer. He tried everybody he could find, Clarence, but nobody could interpret his dream. And then all of a sudden the one remembered and said, hey, I remember there was a man that I met down in your prison, sir, and if that man gave me my dream, he'll be able to tell you yours. Now Joseph's still in prison all this time. Now he wasn't complaining. He wasn't grumbling. He was just going about his day. Church, there's a lot in there. If we'll just take that to heart. Our lives sometimes, we can't fix what's there. We can't get out of the situations that we may be in. But God puts us there for a reason. And if we'll just let God give us the reason, there'll be a victory.
Bless the Lord.
So listen. He stays there 3 years later. The king comes down and says, hey, I heard you can interpret a dream. I've got one for you. And if you do that, I'm getting you out of here, son. He went and prayed about it. And he said, I'm going to just tell you like it is. This is what God showed me. He began to reveal that dream. Just as God said, he said, listen, the way it's going to be, there's going to be a great famine, king. I want you to understand this. You've got 7 years to prepare. But then there's going to be a famine for these rest of the years. And as it comes, if you're not prepared, everyone will die. Boy, that must have intrigued the king. Because he said, okay, if that's how you feel, and that's what your God says, then you come with me, and I'm going to make you almost the next in charge. You take care of everything. All the stockpiles, of all the food, all the resources, it's at your command. Praise God. That's how he works. If we're patient and we're willing, God will do it.
Amen.
So now, we know what's going on. We know the situation. Joseph does his job, but he always wondered, in the back of his mind, wonder what my family's doing. Wonder how my brothers are. Wonder how my dad is. Wonder what's going on. And one day, when his brothers had expended all they had no food, they had no resource, they went down to Egypt. In the place that was designated as an evil place. They went down to sustain themselves. Long and short of the story, Joseph, after some time, reveals himself to these men, and they realize that that's their brother. God brings him a sweet homecoming. brings in the homecoming. The Father comes. Everybody comes, and there's a blessing in this. But there's still a famine that happens. But all through all of this, God had Joseph in the palm of his hand. Not one time did Joseph jump out. Not one time did he fall off. But God had him. Church, I want you to understand that today. When you're in the hand of God, there's no falling out. There's no jumping away. He's got you forever.
Praise God.
Listen. So now it comes down to the spot when Joseph's lived 110 years. Been blessed beyond measure in the midst of turmoil. And he's looked and he's been able to see his brother and his children raised. Matter of fact, it even said that they were bouncing on his knee.
Yeah.
He got to see them nieces and
Bless
nephews
you, Lord.
and grandchildren
Bless you, Lord.
bouncing on his knee.
Help him, Jesus.
But he began to say, I got to go away. It's my time. I have to leave. I'm going away to the earth.
Bless him.
But when I go, I need you to make a commitment to me. Do not leave my bones in Egypt. Don't you leave them here, but you carry them with you. Now, church, think about this. In a land that was blessed beyond measure, in a land that was overflowing with goodness because of following the direction of God, comes to the point that the man that God used is no longer there. Flip to the next chapter. Everybody that knew Joseph died. All the family, all the friends, so that he was just now not even a distant memory, Ron.
Yeah.
They couldn't remember him. They didn't talk about him. All that they knew was these children of Israel were down here and they're multiplying over and over again. So the king says, hey, before we get too far into this, we've got to stop this from happening. We're going to inflict them and make their way hard. So that when the time comes and a battle may occur, they're too weak to go to battle and they can't go with the enemy. They'll be forced to stay here. So they put taskmasters over the top of them. In other words, bosses and bosses and bosses. To tell them what to do. To tell them how to do it. To tell them they're wrong. To inflict pain. To cause hardship. That's just the way that it went. To all them children of Israel. They must have thought, what happened to Joseph? What happened to our Redeemer? But I'm so glad God never left them. He was there all along.
Glory.
But those men had a job. And their job was to carry those bones. When the time comes that you get out of here, you don't leave my bones. I want you to go with me, and I want to go with you.
Yeah.
And you're going to take my bones out of here. So I want to ask the church, as we get into the message, are you willing to carry the bones? In other words, are you willing to carry on what's been laid out before us? I'm going to say this, church. We got it pretty easy. Now, don't you look at me like that.
Come on.
Some of you look at me going, hey, you don't know my life. You don't know what I'm facing. You don't know what I'm going through. I'm going to ask you this. Have you had a taskmaster? Have you had a taskmaster? How that has whipped you up one side, down the other every time you turn. How that has inflicted trouble on you and your family in every direction. Have you been beat down daily? Have you been oppressed? Have you been wounded? Have you been scarred? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that God has lifted you up above those shadows and set you on a solid ground. Amen.
Amen.
We didn't go through what they went through in Egypt. We didn't face the things that they faced wrong. My only desire was not to get the bones out. My desire would have been to survive. Thank God I live in a country where I'm free.
Yeah.
They're trying to take it, but we're still free.
Amen.
They're trying to remove it, but church, we're still free. Oh, why? Because it ain't nothing you did. It ain't nothing anybody else did. It's what God did.
Amen.
Now listen. There's a responsibility to carry these bones. There's a responsibility for making sure that those bones were embalmed. In other words, prepared
Yeah.
and set up for movement. When you embalm somebody, that's after they're dead, but it's for movement. You're going to move them from where you embalm them to where they're viewed and to where they're put. They don't stay that way. If not, they just put them away. So let me ask you this. Are you embalmed? Or are you alive?
Bless him, Lord.
There's a lot of folks I wonder sometimes
Bless.
whether or not they've got embalming fluid in them,
Yeah.
or if they've got the Spirit of God.
Bless.
Embalming fluid is what you put in somebody that's dead.
Yeah.
Somebody that has no life, but you're trying to sustain the outside so that it looks good. Rick, I've never seen a society in my life that is embalming themselves up with everything that they can get up to look good on the outside, up to hope it feels better on the inside. I'm glad God works from the inside and it comes out. I may be a wrinkled up mess on the outside, but praise the Lord, I'm alive on the inside.
Amen.
I'm not embalmed. I'm not dead. I'm alive. But there's a responsibility. Some folks had to do the embalming. Those were folks that were trained. Folks that understood that process and knew how to preserve. Brother Clarence, I'm so thankful that there's some folks in my life that have set up a way that has been preserved.
Amen.
That have set up a way that I can follow better and I understand which path to travel. Because I can search out the old paths, and when I find them, he tells me what to do, Jared. He doesn't say, well, just go find it, and then say, okay, here's a marker. Oh, there it is. But he said, when you find the old path, I'll walk therein.
Amen.
Amen.
So when we get there, we know the direction to travel. Ron, I'm so glad that God has set this way up, that I don't have to figure it out. That he's prepared a way, and he's given responsibility to everyone who crosses this path
Yeah, come on.
to set up some way markers. Morgan, when you get married and you have kids, don't you rely on Grandpa to teach them. Ashley, when you have kids and you get married, first,
Yeah.
don't rely on Grandma to teach your kids. There better be a life that you two live in front of them that they can say,
Amen.
this is the way my mom and dad believed it.
Amen.
And this is the way they walk in it.
Yeah.
And I can tell it in their life. Because when trouble comes, they don't tuck tail and run, but they go straight to their knees.
Yeah.
And they go right to God and say, God, I can't do it.
Yeah.
God, I can't figure it out. I don't know which direction to travel. I need you. And they'll watch God begin to pour it out. I can't say I'm ever going to give my kids, Ron, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars when I die. It's not going to be there. They know that. But I do want to instill something in them, Georgie,
Amen.
that when I leave this life,
Right.
Yeah.
they'll say, Dad followed God.
Lord.
If there's anything I know about Dad, he followed God.
Yeah.
If there's anything I know about my mom, she was a faithful Bible reader. I see her in the morning when she woke up. I see her before she went to bed. I've heard her go in her room and pray. I want them to know that God hears an answer.
Amen.
Amen.
There's responsibility in carrying the bones.
Yes.
See, these bones took almost 460 years to get to their resting place. Think about it.
Exodus chapter 1, taskmasters are happening. As it progresses on, Moses rises up. Moses kills a man. He flees for 40 years. God deals with him. He comes back. God sends a miracle. They march out of Egypt. But for 40 years, they marched in the wilderness. During that span of time building up to that was almost 400 years adding to the other. If my math is correct. For 400 and some odd years, almost 460 years, they carried the bones of Joseph. There was some responsibility in that.
That's right.
Nobody was living that long. So they had to share what these bones meant. They had to share what happened themselves. Egypt had no clue. They didn't care. That's just like the world, Ron. They don't know. They don't care. But there better be some folks that want to share the bones. There better be some folks that have a story to tell about what God has done in their life. And what He brought them to. So listen, there's responsibility in this. I also want you to understand, you have to be trustworthy to carry these bones. Psalms 115 says, "Ye that fear the Lord, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. The Lord hath been mindful of us, and He will bless us." If you trust in the Lord. That's the beginning. Trust in the Lord. And if you do, the Lord hath been mindful of us and will bless us.
Amen.
In that 12th verse, but the more they afflicted them, the more they tried to punish them, Rob. The more that they said they're growing and growing and growing, there's too many, the more they did it, the more God multiplied them and they grew. Why? Because there was some that still trusted in a Redeemer. There was some that still cared for what was there. And with this, we'll get ready to close. If you're going to carry the bones, you're going to have to bear the burden. Galatians 6:2 says, "Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ." These bones may get heavy. These bones may get weary when you stop and think about it. Ever heard the saying, "Well, I remember what it was like in the old days"? Remember when we first come in church and before we walk in the door, they were shouting in the parking lot. Before we even get through the door, they were already singing songs. I remember the days when one person would run to the altar and 15 more would come.
Yeah.
You know what's happened? The bones gotten heavy. Life has affected the church. God doesn't change.
No.
We know that in the last days, the love of many is going to wax cold. People's hearts are going to be hard. That's facts. But do you not think that nailing a Savior to a cross wasn't a hard heart? A man that knew no sin, and even their king said, "I find no fault." Wife warns him and says, "Don't you have any dealings with that man. I've had a dream. Leave him alone." He thought he could wash it clean. Wrong, the world's still doing that today.
Yeah.
When troubles come, they just try to wash it clean. It ain't me, didn't do it. That's just society. It's just this. No, it's just sin.
Yeah.
It's just sin. Church, these bones are going to be heavy. But we are going to a better land.
Amen.
Yeah.
And the road I'm on, the more that I look at the road, and I focus on the path, and I don't hear the noise of everything going on out here, the path just gets brighter. The path looks better, huh? I get more excited about what's in store. When we saw Katie get saved the other day, I didn't know what to do. My heart just bubbled over. I think I shouted, I think I cried. Long journey waiting to see that one.
Yeah.
But somebody had to carry the bones to get there.
That's right.
Bless them.
Somebody had to set the way markers and establish the path. And the more you stare at the path, the easier it got. There was no more questions. There was no more of the trouble on the altar of, I just don't think so, I didn't get it yet. I feel different. Something's changed. And smile. Yeah, I want that for all of us people. Yeah. But I want that for our church people too, huh? Tired of seeing long-faced people. Tired of seeing sad folks. We're the only ones that have something to really rejoice. I've got a reason to.
Yeah.
He saved me.
Yeah.
I'm going to heaven. Nobody can change it.
Yeah, praise God.
I'm as good as there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm one breath, one heartbeat.
yeah,
No matter.
yeah, praise
Might be
God.
sad on this side, but it's joyous for me. Might be sad on this side for you, but it'll be joyous.
Yeah,
When the eyes close, the hands fold, the breath leaves the body, to be absent from this body is to be present with the Lord.
praise God.
Listen, church, I want you to be excited about what God has done and what He wants to do.
Yeah.
Bless.
You say, well, I'm not sure what He wants to do in my life. I can't tell you what He wants in your life, but I can tell you this, carry bones. I don't know if I've got the strength to carry bones in long. For sure. Pray for them. Pray for those that are singing. Pray for those that are preaching. Pray for those that are teaching. Pick up trash.
Yeah,
If it's done for the glory of God, it's a benefit.
Yeah.
And it pays the same. Listen, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm proud of you. But I want to see more. It's almost like we just got a scrape of the icing on top of the cake. And it tasted really good. Now I need more. I want a whole piece. Huh? God's willing to give us whatever we need if we're willing to carry those. It's right.
Bless.